Baal HaSulam says your deepest desire for spiritual growth is completely false, and he means that as a diagnosis, not an insult. In the early 20th century, Rabbi Yehuda Ashlag, known to students as Baal HaSulam, sat in Jerusalem writing letters to his disciples. These weren't casual notes. They were spiritual medicine disguised as correspondence. Letter 10 of his collected writings, the Igrot, opens with a question that cuts right to the bone. Why do we think we want what we actually don't want? Why does the seeker imagine he desires the upper world when, in truth, his desire is still entirely earthbound? This is the moment where most spiritual seekers get uncomfortable, because Baal HaSulam isn't being kind. He's saying, look honestly at yourself. Your desire for spirituality, for connection, for meaning, it's borrowed. It's not really yours. It comes from your environment, from what you've been taught to want, from the image of the spiritual person you wish to project. Now let's back up. To understand this letter, we need to know what Baal HaSulam believed about desire itself. In Kabbalah, desire is the engine of creation. It's not something to suppress, it's something to understand. The entire cosmos exists because of desire, the desire of the upper, infinite realm to give, and the desire of creation to receive. But here's the critical distinction he makes in letter 10. There's a huge difference between receiving desire and genuine desire. What most of us call desire is actually imitation. We want what we've been trained to want. We want the prestige of being spiritual. We want the feeling of being evolved. We want the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. But the actual naked desire to connect with the Creator, to give without receiving, to love without condition, that desire, we don't have it yet. And Baal HaSulam says that's okay. It's not a failure, it's a starting point. The radical insight of letter 10 is this: you cannot manufacture genuine desire through willpower. You cannot think your way into loving the Creator. You cannot meditate your way into it. The false desire, the one you have now, is actually a necessary stage. It's like scaffolding on a building. It holds you in place while the real structure forms. But here's where it gets subtle. Baal HaSulam says the work is not to force yourself to change your desire. The work is to see clearly what your desire actually is, to acknowledge it without shame, to stop pretending. Because the moment you stop lying to yourself about what you want, something shifts. You become available to receive what you actually need, not what you imagine you need. He addresses this to his student directly. Stop measuring yourself against an imaginary standard. Stop comparing your inner state to what you think a real spiritual person should feel. That comparison itself is the disease. It keeps you locked in the false desire because you're trying to achieve an image instead of becoming real. So what does Baal HaSulam suggest you do? Study the sources, the Zohar, the writings of the Ari, the teachings passed down, but not to become learned. Study to create a space in your consciousness for something real to enter. The study is the scaffolding. The books are the temporary structure. What you're actually building toward is a shift in your fundamental desire. And this is the payoff to that opening moment. When Baal HaSulam says your desire is false, he's not condemning you. He's liberating you. Because once you stop pretending, once you acknowledge the truth of where you actually are, the real work can begin. The false desire becomes transparent. And in that transparency, genuine desire, a desire for connection, for truth, for love without self-interest, it can be born. This is why letter 10 matters so much. It's not comfortable, but it's honest. And in the Kabbalistic path, honesty isn't a virtue, it's the foundation. Everything else is built on it. Without seeing yourself clearly, without acknowledging what you actually want before you pretend to want something else, you stay trapped in cycles. The false desire feeds on itself. Baal HaSulam lived through enormous upheaval, the collapse of traditional Jewish life in Eastern Europe, migration, wars, the reshaping of everything familiar. And yet his letters remained focused on one thing: the interior transformation of the individual consciousness. Because he understood that all external change flows from internal change, and all internal change begins with truth. If you're watching this, you've probably felt that gap. The gap between who you pretend to be and who you are, between the spiritual aspirations you've adopted and the actual hunger in your chest, that gap isn't a problem to solve. It's a door, and Baal HaSulam's letter 10 is the map to walking through it. Subscribe for weekly explorations of Baal HaSulam's letters and the authentic Kabbalistic path to genuine spiritual desire.